Hello everyone and welcome back to another single button guide. So I did a very big poll basically asking on all my social media if we should do Balanced Druid next or if we should do Destruction Warlock. And Destruction Warlock won, with a little tip. It was very close, but it was actually like, yeah, this Destruction won. One of the reasons why Destruction Warlock is a very interesting build for the single button build is that it's because they almost get no penalty. The thing is, with the single buttons assistant, all your global cooldowns is increased by 25. So when you're playing a spec like Fury Warrior, for example, where you're using a lot of spells in row, like you're pressing, then you will feel the 25% longer global cooldown. But when you're playing, for example, Destruction Warlock, where you're going to have spells that is going to take 1.8 seconds to cast, 2.3 seconds to cast, you have all these long abilities to cast, which the single button assistant doesn't nerf, because when you press the spell, the global cooldown starts going, and when you're casting a spell that is 2.3 seconds, it doesn't matter. It's actually as good as using not the single button assistant, it's using the single button assistant, because the spell is longer anyway than the single button assistant. Keep in mind the standard global cooldown is 1.5 seconds, and with the 25 above on top of it, it's basically like 1.8. And of course, the more haste you have, you're reducing it even more. So, just to say. But again, this is the Destruction Warlock single button build. Today we're going to talk about the intro, which is what we're doing right now. We're going to talk about the stats, the talents, the rotation, and gameplay. So, should we go ahead and see how it is? So when we're talking about stats, this one here was actually a bit hard because I looked up like 10 different meta pages and they were all different. Like all of them were different and they couldn't agree on what the stats for a Destruction Warlock should use. So I was like, okay, let me try and take them all together and see how many is saying this, how many is saying that. I even asked, ChatGPT, like, okay, they all say this. What do you think? And I mean, in the end, I came into this. And so don't blame me if you don't like the stats here. It's basically all the different sides. They have different opinions about what stats we should use as a Destruction Warlock. But I know 100% what I want to do for my single button build. And then, of course, we have the meta. But keep in mind, the meta is maybe a little bit off-road because, all the sides were basically different. So basically, for the single button build, we're going to start with eye level / intellect. We want high eye level as possible. So every time you get an item, just try to always get the highest eye level to get even more intellect. Because intellect is just such a good stat that is for your Destruction Warlock. So it's just no matter what, it's going to just like upscale, scale. So really good. Secondly, we're going to go for haste. Haste does multiple good things. Basically, it increases, it reduces the global cooldown. So that means the punishment we get from global cooldown is going to be even shorter, which is very nice, because we have this one here, which makes our global cooldown 25% longer. But so instead of having a global cooldown of 1.8, we could have more haste to get it even further down, just to make it nice. Of course, we're also casting spells faster. And our spell, which is normally called Immolate, but because we are playing Hellcaller, it's called a Wither instead. That one is actually also going to tick faster. What happens when that spell ticks faster? It will generate more soul shards for us, which is very nice. So overall, haste is just insanely good for the single button rotation and also for Destruction Warlock. Secondly, we have crit. Crit is insanely good for Destruction Warlocks. Usually, crit is not a stat I like for many classes. It's like, what am I even supposed to use this for? One of the main reasons for why we really like crit is because if you look at, for example, Chaos Bolt, which is basically our main damage ability. So you're basically shooting out a very big Chaos Bolt that deals 1.1 million damage, and it will always critical strike. No matter what, it will always critical strike. But look at this. Damage is further increased by your critical strike chance. So the more crit you have, the higher damage Chaos Bolt is actually dealing. And I don't think many people actually have, like, you know, they read it like this. So basically, the more crit you have, the more damage you deal with your main damage ability, Chaos Ball, which is quite insane. And of course, the more crit you have is also going to give more crits to all your abilities. And even one more thing you might didn't know. So Wither here has another passive effect here. So periodic damage generates 1 soul shard fragment and has a 50% chance to generate an additional 1 on critical strikes. So even having more crit is making our Wither more crit, which is gonna give us more soul shards. Amazing, right? I know. So crit for Destruction Warlock is just like, it's amazing. So yeah, basically if we go in here, you look at crit, it's just good. You just need no crit, like get all the crit you can get. It's just like really, really nice. Then we have Mastery, which is it's a funny one. Like it's a really funny one. So basically, in my case, I have 27% Mastery. 27, yeah. So my 27% Mastery is making me so your spells deal 13.4 increased damage plus a random amount up to 13% additional increased damage. So basically what is happening here is that it takes my 26% mastery, it takes half of it and say, okay, now you're always going to deal this amount of damage bonus, but now we're going to take half of it away, and sometimes you can deal anywhere between this half also. You know, it can either be like 1%, it could be 2%, since it said plus a random amount up to 30%. But still, it's like, it's not bad, it's just, yeah, it just gives us like more damage, which is actually okay, nice. Lastly, we have versatility. Versatility is just flat out increasing our damage. So you can see here, like 16% versatility gives me 60% more damage and also takes 8% less damage. It's fine. It's nothing like, you know, it's nothing insane, but yeah, basically that's just it. For the meta, what I found out mostly what the meta wants is, of course, they want more crit. The higher crit as possible, because crit, again, does all the nice things I just talked about. Then they want haste as secondly, because we also just talked about how much nice things it does. Mastery for the damage increase, and versatility for the last one. Also, versatility makes you a bit more tankier because it reduces the damage you take and increases the damage you deal, and also increases the damage you heal. So it's like overall fine. But again, so that's the stats. I hope that made sense why we like haste, what all haste is doing, what all crit is doing, and mastery, and so on, so on, so on. But yeah, let's jump to the longest part of the video, the talents. It is time to talk about talents, the longest part of my videos, as always. So basically, I'm going to show you a dungeon build and I'm going to show you a raid build. So as you can see right now on the screen, this is our dungeon build. Both of the builds is going to be on my Discord, so both the raid build and the dungeon build will be on the Discord. This again is the dungeon build. We are running with Hellcaller, which is definitely the meta and the strongest one when it comes to dungeon. When it comes to raid, most people run Diabolist, but I don't want to like make a build where we have to change between the hero talents, and it would also be a way too long video with like having to talk about each of these different things. So what I have done instead is I have made a raid build, which is basically using also Hellcaller, but is way more single target raid boss focused. And trust me, it will still do great damage. You will still be able to go to the raid and actually have fun and deal a lot of damage. But here you can see we have the raid version, and here we have the dungeon version. So you might be asking, okay, could you explain what the differences is? So the main difference is that in the dungeon build keep in mind, the raid build is only for raid. The dungeon build is for everything else. Dungeons, delves, questing, open world, anything else. The raid build is purely raid, and the dungeon build is for anything else. Like anything else. So basically the main difference is that in the raid build, we are taking these four over here. which is like, it's kind of like an execute, you know, like warrior execute. All this is just to help you get the boss down. Like, it's a very boss focused single target execute mechanic, this. Where in the dungeon delve anything else build, we are using channel demon fire here, where we are increasing it, and we also have this one here where our incinerate also hit all enemies near your target for 25 damage. So AoE damage, AoE. So a lot of like spreading damage, which is very nice, like very, very nice. So again, raid build is basically just taking these 4 over here. Dungeon build is taking these 4 over here. That's pretty much it. The only change in the left side here, in the middle, that's exactly the same. The only change in the left side here is that we don't want to stun, because you don't stun that often. And then we just take this one here where you reduce the damage deal by Burning Rush by 10%. Burning Rush also increased movement speed by an additional 20%. Just because, I mean, we don't have to change this. You don't really have to. The only reason why I'm doing it is because we don't really use stuns that much in a raid. You would mostly also like to change these 2 here, because that one here reduces the cooldown of your defensive cooldown, and this one here just makes it even stronger, because you probably want to have that for like a raid boss where he has some phases that is really strong. But again, that's the big difference between the dungeon build. Here we have the dungeon build. If I show you the image of the raid build, this is the raid build. You can see all the white dots there, what is changing, and that's basically it. I know it's also showing that this one here is changing, but I'm a little bit skeptic about this one here. We'll come back to it when we start talking about the destruction tree on the right side. But let's do as always. Let's start with the Warlock side and the left side here. Then we go to Hellcaller, and we're gonna go to destruction. But yeah, that was just like a little intro to the talent. But let's go really down in the talents and talk about each of the things in here. So when it comes to the Warlock talents in the left side, this one here is mostly like, you know, utility, self-heal, tankiness. Like, you know, Warlock is super tank. Like, it's the most tanky caster we have in the game. And the talents I'm going to show you is explaining why. So first of all, we have Soul Leech. All single target damage done by you and your minions grant you and your pet's shadowy shield that absorb up to 3% of the damage dealt, up to a 10% of maximum health. So already now you can see that every time you deal damage, you basically also create a shield on yourself, which is quite overpowered. Then we also have Demon Skin. Your Soul Leech absorption now passively recharges at a rate of 0.2 of maximum health every second, and may now absorb up to 10% of maximum health. Well, I mean, okay, this one here was probably maybe 5 first, and now it's 10% in total. Also increases your armor by 90%. Like, okay, I'll take that 90% armor increase. Why not? And then we also have Fell Armor. When Soul Leech absorbs damage, when Soul Leech absorbs damage, 10% of the damage taken is absorbed and spread out over 5 seconds. Kind of like, you know, the Brewmaster Monk stacker. And reduce damage taken by 3%. Okay, I'll take that again. Pretty nice. We also have this one here, which makes you run very fast, but you take a lot of damage at the same time. And this one here, in case you want to, if your pet dies, you can resurrect it very, very fast. Then we also have our little teleporter. Kind of reminds of the teleporter you could use like for monks, you know, where you set up a teleporter location and you can teleport back to it. A single stun, like more like a fear that heals you for 20% of your life. But again, if you are in a dungeon and the mob casts something you don't want, you can throw this one here to then basically interrupt them. So this one here increases the HP of our pets, as it is called, which is pretty nice. This one here increases damage done by your primary pet, and if you use Grimoire Sacrifice, it will deal 10% increased damage. But we don't use it. We don't use Grimoire Sacrifice in this build here. We're actually using our pets in this build here. But yeah, it just basically increases the damage of your pet. We also have this one here, which increases the attack speed of our primary pet. So, you know, more damage, more damage. So more damage for pet, more damage for pet. well, actually more HP, but more damage, and also 10% increased stamina. You know, why not? We already super tanky with all this up here, so why not just give us some more tankiness so we can be even more tanky. This one here is also pretty overpowered. Now your health stone heals you for 10 additional HP of your maximum health, and every time someone from my party or raid, well, from my party, I think it's only, well, it actually says party or raid member using Healthstone also heals you for that amount. So every time someone in the raid uses my Healthstone, I get healed by that 10% as well, which is quite overpowered. Then we have the demonic gateway, you know, the demon gateway you can use where, you know, you can like click on it and then jump over here. That one, in case you didn't know it. We also have Dark Pact, which is an insanely strong healing. Well, kind of like a self-sustain. Like basically, you sacrifice 20% of your current health to shield you for 200% of the sacrificed health, plus an additionally 174,000 for 20 seconds. And this one here reduces the cooldown by 15 seconds. Now you probably think, okay, we get a shield. What's up with that? Why is that so cool? Well. We also have this one here. Dark Pact heals you for 130k every second while active. So imagine we are down on something like 90% HP, like this. Like if I jump over here, that wasn't that much damage, but like let's try and get a bit more damage here. Now I use it, and now you can see I only have half HP, but now it keeps healing me for 100k healing all the time while this is active. So of course, try to avoid taking damage so you can keep the shield up as much as possible. But while the shield is actually active, it's gonna spam heal us by 100k, which is a crazy self-healing. Beside that, we have we have this defense ability here called Unending Resolve. It's basically making you look like this, very nice. It reduces all damage take by 25 and granting humidity to interrupt, silence, and pushback effects for 8 seconds. So that's a super strong self-survivability defense, a bit cooldown, whatever you call it. The thing is, you can either choose between having Strength of the Will, which is making it reduce even like additionally 50% damage, which is the one you would be using in a raid. And then you have this one here, which reduces the cooldown of it by 45 seconds, which is the one you use for dungeon, delves, anything else. So yeah. We also have Shadow Fury, which is the one that stuns, like you can basically target a big area and then it will stun everyone in that area. You use it in dungeon, delves, and so on again, but in rage you would not take this one here and you would take this one here up instead, which is reducing the damage we take from Burning Rush. Again, you could also take, you could take whatever you want in here. You could also take this one here. When you use your Health Stone, gain 4% lead for 20 seconds. That one would probably be even more fun than this one here. It's up to you. But this one here, the stun here, is just not relevant in a raid because, yeah, it's not relevant. We also have some more damage. Immolate damage increased by 20. We also have Incinerate damage increased by 10. This one here is super overpowered. Your spells have 5% increased chance to deal a critical strike, and you gain 10% more critical strike stat from all sources. So imagine all your gear together is giving you 30 critical strike. Now, with this one here, it will be 33 because it gives you 10% on top of it. So if you got 20, 22, 10, 11, you just basically get 10% more crit from all the items that give you crit. Which kind of screams to us, crit is very nice for us. Then we have, just to make you even more overpowered, tanky as a Warlock, Soul Leech also heals you for 50% and your pet for 50%. It heals you for 15 and your pet for 50 of the absorption it grants. Now you also get healing. And Souling, 10% of all damage you take is taken by your demon instead. If you're using Grimoire Sacrifice, your stamina is increased by 5. So, yeah. Then we also have Patch Gluttony. So what happens here is that you're basically making your Health Stone even stronger. Health Stone you conjure for yourself are now demonic Health Stones and can be used multiple times in combat, which is pretty nice. Demonic Health Stones cannot be traded. Instantly restore 35% health, which is quite nice. So now we have literally a Healthstone we can use multiple times in combat, because normally you can only use it like out of a combat, like one time of combat, I believe it is. But yeah, pretty nice. We get like an even stronger like Healthstone for ourselves. This one here is also fun. Every soul shard you spend has a 5% chance to be refunded, so you could technically be in a situation where you're using Chaos Bolt and using a soul shard on it, and then it's like, yeah, okay, fine enough, I'll refund the soul shard you used, and it will use Chaos Bolt one more time, you know, just to make even more damage. Then we have Soul Burn, which is it's a quite interesting little 6 seconds cooldown. You can see it has all these bonuses, like Demonic Gateway can now be cast instantly. Demonic Circle Teleport increase your movement speed by 50 and make you immune to snare. Drain life, gain an absorb shield equal to the amount of healing for 30 seconds. The shield cannot exceed 30% health. Or Health Venom to make even your, healing your pet for even more. Or Healthstone, increase the healing of your Healthstone by 30% and increase your maximum health by 20. So technically, when you use it, you have a lot of things that is like stronger now. Like, all these different spells here is stronger. For example, like this portal here that is now instant. So, and it only has like a 6-second cooldown. So yeah, it's fun. You could use it for many different things. But we'll take it because it can like it can make your Healthstone heal you for even more. It can make your pet heal even more. It can make your drain life even better. So it's just like it's super great in like survivability situations. Yeah, but that's the Warlock Talentry, the short one. Let's move over to the next one. So let's talk about the hero talent in the middle. So this one here can be a bit confusing since a lot of things is like happening, but it's it's all like passively, except of course the Wither, which is basically replacing our Immolate. So normally Destruction Warlocks, they always start with casting Immolate, which is our fire burning spell, which takes like usually like, I don't know, 1.5, 1.7, 2.0 seconds to cast, which is now replaced by Wither, which is an instant cast spell. So like you see, instant cast, boom, and now it technically has my Immolate on it. So very nice, it's instant cast and it just do a lot of damage over time, and it keeps giving us soul shards, which is very nice. But there's way more to it. So spending soul shards on damaging spells will further corrupt enemies affected by Wither, increasing its stack count by 1. So that means when an enemy target has Wither on and you actually use, for example, Chaos Ball, which costs soul shard, you can see that it gave it 2 stacks. It had like 2 stacks on it. And now if I use it one more time, it gets 2 stacks again. But this time, okay, I actually used it again. That's quite annoying. The thing is, each time Wither gains the stack, it has a chance to collapse, consuming a stack every 1 second to deal 160k Shadowfly damage to its host until 1 stack remains. So imagine, you cast Wither on a target, you keep using soul shard damaging abilities, and it will keep getting 1 stack, 1 stack, 1 stack, 1 stack for each like soul shard ability you use. Yeah, so you keep getting stacks, but then it has a very small, like not a small, it has like a big chance to basically say, okay, I'm now collapsing your stacks, so now it will keep taking a stack, but every time it does that, it deals 160k damage, 160k damage, 160k. Before I just tested, I was actually able to get the stacks all the way up to like something like, I don't know, I think I had 9 stacks or something like that before it then collapsed it, of course, and then of course it deals like a lot of like 160k, 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 which is pretty cool. But it's basically a little bit random, kind of like crit. It's basically working like crit. It keeps giving it stacks by using soul shard spells as damage spells. So it keeps like giving them stacks, and then suddenly it collapses and it just like boom, 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 which is pretty cool. So just so you know, your Wither will keep having numbers that goes up and down, and it's basically just a stack here that will build up be used, build up, be used. And it's all passively, so you don't have to think about it. And Wither is also inside our single button rotations, so don't think about Wither as well. It will automatically be used. And there is no way to spread Wither automatically to other targets by just like playing. The only thing you can actually use to apply Wither is either using Wither spell, like I could click on like different targets and then it will affect, like, you know, I could cast Wither on them. Or there's one more spell, which is the spell called Cataclysm, which Cataclysm is our little, you know, like our AoE ability. So, like this. It like explodes and they all get Wither. You can see Wither, Wither, which is pretty cool. And now if I then cast a Chaos Ball, you'll see here that both of them got 2 stacks. So all of them that is affected by Wither will keep getting stacks and has a chance to, like, you know, explode. Which I think is why this spec is like the most popular, like why Hellcall is the most popular for like dungeons, because you can like very fastly dot them all up and they will keep getting stacks from your Chaos Bolt, or even from Rain of Fire. It also gets stacks from Rain of Fire. And yeah, then of course it has the chance to like explode them. So yeah, again, use a spell, use a soul shot spell, and then it gets stacks and it has a chance. Now you can see it actually keeps the stacks. And even when you refresh Wither, it keeps those stacks until next time you throw like another soul shot ability, and then of course it will either increase the stack or it will explode them. Okay, we use way too much time to explain that, but I really hope you understand what it is. Then we also have this one here. Wither damage is increased by 20, and when Wither gains a stack from this one up here, the Blackened Soul, it has a chance to gain additional stacks. So sometimes you get 1 stack, sometimes you get 2 stacks, because now we have an effect that can sometimes give it additional stacks. After Wither reaches 8 stacks, or when its host reaches 20% health, so either when it has 8 stacks or when the target that has these inside itself reach 20% health, Wither deals 163k Shadowflame damage to its host every 1 second until 1 stack remains. So again, either when we hit 8 stacks, it's going to deal a lot of damage until it gets down to 1 stack, or when the target gets down to 20% health. So it's kind of like an execute kind of like method, way, whatever. And then we have the last one down here, which is Malevolence, which is a cooldown. And this one is also inside your single button rotation, so you don't have to think about it. It is, of course, a cooldown that you could like drag out, but you don't have to worry about it because it's inside the single button rotation. But what happens is dark magic erupts from you, and you corrupt your soul for 20 seconds, causing enemies suffering from your Wither to take 300k Shadowflame damage, and it increases its stack count by 6. So basically, all the targets we have that has Wither is taking 300k damage, and also it's increased the stack up to 6. While corrupted, while you have this buff on for 20 seconds, your haste is increased by 8%, and spending soul shards on damaging spells grant 1 additional stack. So as you can see now, of course, here when you actually have like, you know, Wither on, and now it's going to use the cooldown, there you see everyone got like 600k damage, everyone got up to a lot of like stacks. Because it got up to 8 stacks, it also even started like with the burning effects. But as you can see, it just all plays really well together, and yeah. But you can see they all have like Wither on now, they're all getting stacks from my spells, and they keep like exploding and not exploding and so on. It really works well with the single button rotation because it's all passive, so very nice. So yeah, that one is automatically used. Then we also have this one here, Salon's Ferocity. Fire damage dealt by your spells and abilities increased by 8, and your fire spells gain 10% more critical strike chance from all sources, which we like. We love critical strikes, so that's good. Then we also have Curse of Satyr. It's pretty nice because what basically it does is that it combines Curse of Tongues together with Curse of Weakness. So now, when you're casting Curse of Satyr, it actually does both same things at the same time. It both reduces time between attacks by 20 and casting time increased by 30. So it's pretty nice to have like both curses in one, since you can only have one curse active at a target. So now you're basically giving double curse. Then we also have Mark of Saviors. Wither damage is increased by 25, which is nice. I mean, 25% more damage, that's pretty cool. And also the Blackened Soul deals 2% increased damage per stack of Wither, which is also nice. Then we have Shadow damage dealt by your spells and abilities is increased by 8, and your Shadow spells gain 10% more critical strike chance from all sources, which is pretty cool. Like, again, shadow damage dealt by your spells and abilities is increased by 8. So when you deal shadow damage, increased by 8. And your shadow spells gain 10% more critical strike chance from all sources. So, again, it's kind of like this one over here. When you have 22% critical strike, then now shadow spells is getting even more critical strike. Yeah, it just basically get more critical strike shadow spells now. This one here we already talked about. When you're using Dark Pact, as long as Dark Pact is on you, which can potentially be on you for 20 seconds, it's going to heal you 130k all the time. So if I use Dark Pact now, it will keep healing me 130k every second, like just boom, boom, boom. Of course, then when my shield goes off, if like the boss did like a big attack and my shield went off, then the healing is also going to stop. Which is, yeah, just how it is. And very last, critical strike damage dealt by Wither is increased by 10, which is pretty nice. Wither has a chance to gain a stack when it critical strikes. Stacks gained this way do not active Blackened Soul, which is pretty nice. So whenever Wither actually crits, like honestly, I could throw Wither and now it actually got a stack, which is quite nice. Every time it like crit, that's what it says. Wither has a chance to gain a stack when it critical strikes. So every time it crits, like now you can see it crits quite a lot. Every time it crits, it has a small chance to gain an additional stack. So this is just to like help you deal even more damage, because now passively it can also get even more stacks, which is why we like critical strike, because now critical strike is even going to give us more Wither stacks. Whoosh, that's a long one for the talents. So yeah, that was what Hellcall is about. I hope I wasn't talking about that one too much, but it's just a lot of things in here, which is really, really important to understand why Wither is such a good spell and why it's so important. Then lastly, we have Destruction Tree. So of course, this is where our main damage spells comes from, all our main damage rotation and so on, like all the passives and so on. First of all, we have Conflagrate, which is basically an instant cast spell. It's like an instant cast. Conflagrate, it will also be in the single button rotation, so you don't have to think about it. But what happens is that it triggers an explosion in the target, dealing almost 300k damage, and it reduces the cast time of your next Incinerate or Chaos Bolt. Normally, you had to use Conflagrate, then Chaos Bolt, Conflagrate, then Chaos Bolt. You don't have to think about that anymore. The single button rotation is going to handle that for you, so you don't have to like worry about like when should I use Conflagrate, when should I use Chaos Bolt. It will do it for you, so don't think about that anymore. It has a 12-second cooldown, and basically it also generates 5 soul shard fragments, which of course is going to make you give, like, it's also going to help you get more soul shards to cast even more Chaos Bolts. Then we also have Rain of Fire. You can either choose between a Rain of Fire where you can choose the location it should land on, or you should use it on a target. Since the single button rotation is automatically doing that for you, it doesn't really matter which one you pick, because no matter what, it's gonna, you know, we like, if I use it now, I can select where it should be. If I had taken this one here, it would always like use it on where my target is. But since the single button rotation actually already do that, it doesn't really do a difference. But of course, by having Rain of Fire where you can choose the location, it's kind of like giving you a little bonus, because now you can choose where to place it, but at the same time, the single button rotation is going to automatically place another target. So you could now kind of have it in like this one here actually allows you to have it in 2 ways, because you have this one here that is going to place it on it, the single button rotation, or you're going to have it this one here where you can place it yourself. I mean, again, it's up to you which one you're going to play with. It doesn't really matter. Conflagrate reduces the cast time of your next Incinerate, Chaos Bolt, or Soulfire by 30%, maximum 2 charges. backdraft, which is that effect that Configurate had, which we were reading before. But this is basically the one where it increases the cast time by 30%, and you can actually do that twice. So I technically could use Configurate twice in a row, and it will give me 2 charges now. So now I could actually use 2 very fast Chaos Balls. So like this. Very nice. Because we use 2 Configurate. So yeah, but again, the single button rotation is going to do that automatically for you. Then we also have conflict rate. I don't know how you say that. Increases your channel demon fire, wither, incinerate, and configurate damage to the target by 25% for 8 seconds. So when you actually use configurate here, you can see here that it get all these effects takes basically increases 25% damage on it for 8 seconds. So it's just like kind of like improving a lot of our spells. Again, this is something you usually had to like think about, but with the single button rotation, you don't have to think about it anymore. We also have Backlash, increase your critical strike chance by 3. We love critical strike. Physical damage against you have a 25% chance to make your next Incinerate instant cast. This effect can only occur once every 6 seconds. So in case someone actually attacks you with physical attacks, you have a chance to make your next Incinerate instant cast, which is pretty cool. So yeah. We also have Mayhem. So I looked at the meta list and the meta talents, and it looks like not many people is actually working with Havoc anymore. Havoc used to be the one that everyone went with, but I couldn't find a single one who actually used Havoc. Everyone is using Mayhem, which is also one we need. We really need to use Mayhem for the single button rotation, because we don't have time to like, use Havoc on a different personal, because I mean, we play single button to use the single button. So what happens is your single target spell has a 35% chance to apply Havoc to a nervy enemy for 5 seconds. And what is Havoc? Mark a target with Havoc for 5 seconds, causing your single target spell to also strike the Havoc victim for 60% of the damage deal. So basically, by having this one, every time you use your single button rotation now, every time you're using like a single target spell, it has a 35% chance to mark any of the mobs around you with Havoc. And now, whenever you cast your single button with single target spells, it also shoots to that target, and it just keeps randomly happening, like all the time randomly happening, which is super cool. So don't worry about a lot of like single target spells; they will automatically keep shooting at all the targets around you as well. Then we have Cataclysm, basically a very strong 30-second cooldown. It's also inside your single button rotation. When you use it, it just makes like a big explosion, and everyone inside it is also getting wither, which is super cool. So again, this is the way you can actually spread like a wither to a lot of targets at the same time, which is very nice. Yeah. Then we have Indiscriminate Flames. Backdraft, increase the damage of your next Chaos Ball by 5% and increase your critical strike chance of your next Incinerate or Soulfire by 35%. So basically what that means is when we actually use Configurate and we get this effect here called Backdraft, where our Chaos Ball is casting faster, it now also increases the damage by 5 and increase the critical chance of your next Incinerate or Soulfire. Incinerate is our standard like filler spell we're using to like shoot and also generate soul shards. Soulfire is more like it's a very strong spell that kind of like we only use it in the raid tree, so only raiders will use this one here. But we're gonna come back to the raiding tree later. Then we also have Scalding Flames, increase the damage of Wither by 25% and its duration by 3. So now we actually have a 25% increase from Wither here, and we have 25% increase from Wither here. So our Wither is dealing quite a lot of damage. And also, of course, longer duration. We also have Shadowburn. This is another spell that your single button rotation is automatically going to use. This one here always bugged me out, because I never really knew when to use this one here or Chaos Bolt and all that. I was like, oh, which one should I use now? You don't have to worry about that now, because the single button rotation is gonna handle that for you. But basically, it only costs 1 soul shard, where normally our Chaos Bolt costs 2 soul shards. It blasts the target for 260k damage, Shadow Flame damage, gaining 50% critical strike chance on target that has 20% or less health. So it's a nice shadow. It's a nice like a little spell you can use while moving, running. It deals like okay damage, especially strong when they are below 20% health. It restore one soul shard and refund a charge if the target dies within 5 seconds. So as you can see, it's kind of like hinting to us it's like an execute spell. But the main reason for why we're taking Shadowburn, as well for like, of course, the execute spell, is of course also because we want this one here below. You could argue, why not just take this one over here? But again, the single button rotation and the meta players, they like to have Shadowburn, so let's just like keep it. It's fine. Also, it has like it has a little cooldown, so it's not the worst thing. What it gives us additional is Conflagration of Chaos. Conflagate and Shadowburn have a 50% chance to guarantee your next cast of the ability to critical strike and increase its damage by critical strike chance. So that basically means now Conflagate and Shadowburn has when you use Conflagate, which is this one up here, or Shadowburn, we now have a 50% chance to increase, so to basically make our next spell critical strike chance to guarantee your next cast of the ability to critical strike and increase the damage of your critical strike chance. So, yeah. So now every time we're either using this one here or we're using Conflagate, it has a 50% chance to like, make the next spell crit or crit even more harder, which is pretty nice since we anyway going to be using Conflagate in our rotation all the time. So why not get some more crits for other spells as well? Or make Chaos Bolt even stronger. Then we also have Summoner's Embrace, increase the damage dealt by your spells and your demon by 3%. You could also take this one here where you're basically sacrificing your pit, and then every time you deal like a damage, and causing your spell to sometimes deal 41k additional shadow damage. So the thing is, like, you're saying no to a 3% damage increase. You're saying no for your pet that keeps attacking your target to get a maybe sometimes you deal 41k damage. So I'm not surprised why no one really plays with this one here. Of course, it has some nice perks from also like stuff like this where you're getting this one here where you get more stamina. You also have this one here which makes you increase the damage by 10, or this one here again increases damage by 10. But still. Then we have this one here, Cast Ball, Shadowburn, and Incinerate deal 5% increased damage to target afflicted by a Wither. So again, just make sure you always have Wither on your target, but don't worry, the single button rotation will take care of that. And then we come to one of the funny ones, Channel Demon Fire. Launches 17 balls of Fellfire over 1.8 seconds at random targets afflicted by your Wither within 40 yards. Each ball deals 52k fire damage to the target and 26 fire damage to nearby enemies. So it actually deals damage to the target and also burns like enemies around them, which is quite nice. But this is not the main reason for why we're picking it. It has some upgrades. Again, these upgrades here, these three here, Raiders, they don't take that. They take this over here. They take these instead of these. So I know there's 4 here. That's because they don't take this one as well. But yeah, they don't take this one here plus this one here. They take this one here. So it's kind of like the trade-off. It's very nice having a build that is so similar. Like, it's so close. Like, this is for Raiders. This is for damage dealers. This one here, Channel Demon Fire. Channel Demon Fire fires an additional 2 balls. So basically, it's going to fire out instead of 17. Well, I think it's normally 15, but now it's like 17. Each bolt increases the remaining duration of Wither on all target hit by 0.5 seconds. This one is really cool because technically, I tested on the dummies here. When you use Cataclysm, it's gonna give Wither to all these targets here. But now, because of our Channel Demon Fire, it will now keep up the Withers on the target so long time that it's actually gonna be refreshed by Cataclysm. So that means when you have multiple targets here, you technically never have to use Wither on them because Cataclysm is going to make sure that they will have Wither on them all the time. Cataclysm can only be used every 30 seconds. Wither is only there for 21 seconds. So technically, no, it wouldn't be, it wouldn't happen because you would need 9 more seconds. But because of this one here, it reduces, of course, like it increases the duration of it. Of course, if there's a lot of mobs, it might not be all of them that is going to get Wither, you know, since it's only like the ones that actually attacks from these balls that is increasing the duration. But you're kind of getting what I'm meaning, right? So using Channel Demon Fire keeps increasing the duration on Wither, which makes basically we only going to be like applying Wither on the targets from Cataclysm. So yeah. I do know that it basically says that Wither here is on for 21 seconds. I just saw that. But when you actually use it, like you can see here, it actually is 26 seconds. So I don't know why that is not. It's probably because of all these things we have here, that it, like this one here, and its duration is increased by 3. That's probably the one. So instead of it's actually 21, it's 22, 23, 24. But if I use it here now, you can see it's 27. We have a few talents that increases the time. Okay, so technically it's only like 4 seconds we need between Cataclysm and Wither. But still, that's a good thing. Then we also have this one here, increase the damage of Channel Demon Fire by 30, and it deals damage 35% faster, which is quite nice. So now it only takes 1.8 seconds to cast all these 7 balls out. We also have increased the damage done by your fire spells by 2% and reduce the cast time of your Incinerate spell by 20. We also have in Summon Infernal. So the Infernal is basically, if you don't know what the Infernal is, it goes down here like boom, deals a little bit damage, then it deals like damage like to everyone. Not much damage. It's still like damage. You can see like it's still like 100k all the time. But a very important fact: why is this Infernal so goddamn important? Because the Infernal will serve you for 30 seconds, dealing 50k damage to all nearby enemies every 1.8 second. Okay, whatever. And generating 1 soul shard fragment every second. It's literally it's like a 3D printer. It's a 3D printer Summon Infernal that is printing out soul shards. So when you have that one active, you're gonna have so many soul shards up and running all the time. So yeah, it deals damage as a pet. It AoE, like it burns everyone around you, but it's gonna give you a lot of soul shard fragments all the time, which is very nice. So yeah, it's a very nice one because it deals damage and it gives you a lot of soul shard. Then we have Fire and Brimstone, which is another talent that raiders they don't pick. They pick, you know, again, you don't have these 3 and this one here. When you're a raider, you take these 4 here. So basically, Incinerate now also hits all enemies near your target for 25%. So if I used Incinerate here, as you can see here, boom, it will now shoot to all 3 of them. But only 25% damage on this one here. So yeah. Then we also have Eradication, Cast Ball, and Shadowburn increase the damage you deal to the target by 5% for 7 seconds. So whenever you use Cast Ball, whenever you use Shadowburn, you increase the damage you deal to them. So for example here, if I use Cast Ball on them, you will see that here, now it has this one here. Damage taken from Warlock increased by 5%. Very nice. We also have Reign of Chaos. While your initial Infernal is active, every soul shard you spend has a 50% chance to summon additional Infernal that lasts for 8 seconds. So that means when you have your Infernal ready, you need to use as many soul shards as possible to keep like summoning more and more and more and more Infernals. But again, the single button rotation is going to handle that, so you don't have to worry about it. But the Infernal is not inside your single button rotation. You actually need to use that one manually, just so you know. So you could use it kind of like an opener, or, you know, probably the best thing would be like to start with your, like, you know, Cataclysm, and then it will use your cooldowns, and you will use some channels. And then now it's going to start using my, after those 3 spells, it's going to use my soul shards. So now I would be using my Infernal, and then I will start using my, what do you call it, like my soul shards to have a chance to summon. Like, there we go. See, now it actually summoned an additionally Infernals. Sorry, it's it's 12 a.m. My brain is about to take off. Okay. Yeah, so very nice. It just makes our Infernal even more fun. Then we have Reverse Entropy. Your spells have a chance to grant you 50% haste for 8 seconds. Why not? Very nice. Increase the critical strike chance of your destruction spells by 5%. Very important as well. Every 15 soul shards spent grant you Ritual of Ruin, making your next Chaos Bolt or Rain of Fire consume no shards and have it cast time reduced by 50. As you maybe have seen, I keep having this buff on here. That's because in my UI I have modified it so it looks like this, and I have enabled cooldown manager. If you import my UI, you will have the same as me. But basically, this one here keeps like showing me. It keeps showing me how many stacks I have. So whenever this one here comes up to 15, like every time I use a soul shard, it will increase the stack. And once it is on 15, then my next Chaos Bolt or Rain of Fire is free, and yeah, also be casted very fast. So it's quite nice. It's like a very it's just nice. Then we have Ruin, increase your critical strike damage of your destruction spells by 5, so even more crit damage. So not more crit, but actually crit damage. Then we have improved Chaos Bolt, increase the damage of Chaos Bolt by 10% and reduce its cast time by 0.5. Very important, because now it is only down on 2.3 instead of almost 3 seconds. Then we have Master Ritualist. Ritual of Ruin require 5 less soul shards spent. So before it was probably like 20, but now it's 15. And then we have Consuming Ritual Ruin summons an Overfiend for 8 seconds. If you don't know what an Overfiend is, it's basically like a pit, like it's one of those demons with wings. It's kind of like those fire demons with wings you fight in Firelands. Generate 1 soul shard fragment every second and cast Chaos Bolts at 80% effectiveness as it is summoned as its summoner's target. So yeah, so when I have it on 15 stacks, I get a free Chaos Bolt. When I use it, I summon a pit that keeps throwing Chaos Bolt as well and keep giving me soul shards. Very nice. Again, all this is automatically passive. You don't have to think about it. It's all inside the single button assistant. Yes. Then we have Power Overwhelming. Consuming soul shard increases your mastery by 0.5 for 10 seconds and each shard spent. For each shard spent, sorry. Yeah, so consuming soul shards increase your mastery by 0.5 10 seconds. 0.5 for 10 seconds for each shard spent. Gaining a stack does not refresh the duration. So it's not gonna like, you know, get all the way up. Like it's not gonna go all the way up, because when you get a stack, it's automatically going to vanish no matter what after 10 seconds. Even if you just got like 10 stacks, they will still disappear even if you get more stacks. They don't like refresh each other. Lastly, before my voice is gone, Incinerate now generates 100% additional soul shard fragments. So that means now our Incinerate is going to be an even more effective like way of getting soul shards. So it's quite nice. As you can see here, up here, it basically generates 2 Incinerate now, is giving us a full soul shard, which could help us to cast even more Chaos Bolt and even more Rainfire. So very nice. Then, of course, as I mentioned before, if you are someone who plays dungeons, delves, anything else except raids, you play with this way here. You have these 4 here, and these 3 here, and this one here. If you are a raider, you take these 3 off, and you take these 4 over here. What do? Blistering Atrophy. Increase the damage of Shadowburn by 20. The critical strike chance of Shadowburn is increased by an additional 50% when damaging a target that is at or below 30% health. Very nice. But don't worry, that's not the main reason for why we're taking this. When Shadowburn fails to kill a target that is at or below 30% health, its cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds. Very nice. Again, and then we come down to Soulfire. Burns the enemy's soul, dealing 500k fire damage and applying Wither. So now we have an additional spell that actually applies Wither, but also deals like 500k, which is quite nice. But now comes the big one. When your direct damage abilities deal a critical strike, they have a chance to reset the cooldown of your Soulfire and reduce its cast time of your next Soulfire by 80%. So this one is the big one. This is why raiders, they play with this one here. When your direct damaging abilities deal a critical strike. Yep, so all my direct damage abilities, when they do a critical strike, when your direct damage abilities deal a critical strike, so basically all of them, they have a chance to reset the cooldown, yes, of Soulfire, yes, and reduces cast time by 80%. Quite nice. So normally it's like 3.6 second cast time, but now of course with this it would be less than a second. So you can imagine by having this, you will have so many soul fires you cannot just like throw randomly at your target all the time, which is super cool. But yeah, so yeah, that's the thing you have. Then a lot of people discussing in the raid if you should not have this one here, power overwhelming, that gives you more mastery, and maybe take this one up here called rolling havoc, but that's only useful when you actually are fighting against mobs that is like, you know, having like trash mobs, like summoning ads, because this one here, every time you like, each time your spells duplicate from havoc, you get 1% increased damage for 6 seconds, stacks up to 5 times. So whenever like this havoc thing happens, you get like more damage, which is only relevant if there's actually a lot of mobs. So just so you know, but yeah. Whoosh, that was the talents. This is probably gonna be my longest video of all my videos. So let's go to rotation. So when it comes to rotation, I just want to first start to talk about pits. So pits, as we have them here now in the rotation, in dungeon delves, whatever, it's recommended to use the Fell Hunter. The reason why is that it actually has an interrupt spell, because else Warlocks actually doesn't have an interrupt. So in case like a mob or boss or something like that is actually using a spell that you're supposed to interrupt, then you have a spell lock here. Count an enemy's spell cast, preventing them from that school or magic being cast for 5 seconds. So very nice. It also has Devour Magic, which purchases 1 beneficial magic effect from an enemy. If an effect is devoured, the Fell Hunter will be healed for like a lot and get energy. So when, for example, some bosses in dungeons, they have like beneficial magic effects on them, you can actually remove it with your Fell Hunter, which could be a shield, a buff, anything like very nice the boss could put on themselves or the mobs. But you can then remove it like this, like boom, remove it. It's all gone. Nice. Fairy dust. You know what I mean? So, which is very nice. And also it has interrupt, and of course it also, yeah, that's it. Interrupt and removing magic damage. In raids, you would usually use your imp. So we're gonna do like this. You might be asking why, because they have this spell here called Singe Magic. It burns a harmful effect as a harmful spell, removing 1 harmful magic effect from an ally. So imagine you have a shaman who has like a totem that removes harmful magic. Now you have your imp, which is going to remove harmful magic from an ally every 15 seconds. So it's very nice. You don't need to interrupts from the Fell Hunter in a raid. Also, it's just like passively damaged to just like keep shooting. So it keeps shooting for you, of course, dealing fine damage. And it has this Singe Magic here, which is the most recommended one. So don't think about like which one is dealing most damage. It's so slightly, it doesn't matter. But that's just like Fell Hunter should be used for dungeons. Your imp should be used for like raids, and then of course if you're doing delves solo or something like that, then of course you could use your Void Walker for like, you know, help you with your tanking, which of course is the best for tanking when you're doing solo content. So of course Void Walker is always your solo friend, like your best friend when tanking or something like that. But let's go back to the dungeon whatever. Like if you're doing delves with your friends and one of them is a tank, then of course you also want to use your Fell Hunter and so on. Rotation. Let's talk about rotation. So we have only 1 damage cooldown we need to actively use outside our single button system. Of course, if you play a race like orcs, you also have your spell. I'm not an orc. I actually for a second thought I was orc. I'm a night elf. If you play orc, you of course have a cooldown you should use after as well, but I'm going to tell you when to use it. So we have a cooldown called Summon Infernal. We just talked about it in the talent one, but basically you summon a big Infernal, it deals damage every second, but it also restores a lot of soul shards for you. Very nice. But at the same time it's active. Every time you are using soul shards, you have a chance to summon even more Infernals. So you can have like an entire army of Infernals. You first want to start using your Summon Infernal when you are about to go into burst mode. So first thing you do is your single button rotation is starting to use Cataclysm. So you can see the first thing it will do is it will use Cataclysm always. Then it will use the cooldown called Malevolence, and that is where you need to use now Summon Infernal. So you could use Summon Infernal, and then your single button rotation, and then you just use your single button rotation from now on, and don't think about anything else. So it's just basically use your single button rotation to start. You just have to use your Summon Infernal before you start. What can I say? Before you start spending soul shards, because every time you spend a soul shard, you have a chance to summon even more Infernals. So you don't want to start with, throwing down your Summon Infernal. As you can see, whenever we get up to 15 stacks here by this one, every time you use 15 soul shards, you also summon this pet here, which will cast also Chaos Balls with you. But that's actually the entire rotation. What I use for my rotation is I made a macro. It might not be relevant at all, but the thing is, we have one spell that we are channeling, which is the spell called Channel Demon Fire. It channels over 1.8 seconds. The global cooldown for single button assistant is also 1.8 seconds. So it has a, we are talking nanoseconds, 0.1, 0.2 seconds chance to interrupt your Channel Demon Fire. But the thing is, if someone used Bloodlust, Heroism, those spells where you get 30% more haste, you actually have a chance that now you are going to cast, now your global cooldown is going to be casted way faster than potentially this spell here. And you could risk that Channel Demon Fire is going to get cropped. I haven't tested it fully. I just want to kind of play it safe. So I'm just playing it safe by having a no channel cast. You can see show tooltip, cast no channeling, single button assistant, and then you drag the spell down here. And now it's going to never ever interrupt my channeling spells, which is only one. The downside of this spell here is that if you're using Drain Life, you cannot use your single button rotation to start your DPS. Because it's not gonna interrupt any channeling. So of course, to stop Drain Life, you just move. You just move. You just move. It's not worse than that. You just move. Oh, now I'm not full health. Okay, move. Start your rotation again. So again, let's go over it again. You start using your rotation just until it's about to use your you see that it uses Malevolence. Then you quickly use your Infernal, and now it's about to go down. This is when the entire rotation is going to start. So yeah, that's basically it. Beside of that, we have Soul Burn, which is basically a spell that increases the effect of a lot of your spells, make your Drain Life better, make your Healthstone better. For example, every time you're about to consume one of your Healthstone, you should always use Soul Burn first. Let me show you here. It basically makes our Healthstone heal for 30% more. Boom. Now it just got increased by 30%. It even got even more health from all my other talents here, but now this one here makes it heal even more, which is quite nice. Then we have Drain Life. This one can also be even stronger by using a Soul Burn first. It will give you a shield. Then we have our pet spell. It's basically command demon ability. Depending on which pet you have, it will use the spell that your pet has. So if you have your Imp on, I think it was this spell one, which is also automatically. If you have your Fell Hunter on, it's going to cast the interrupt spell, which is nice. Then of course we have our famous fear, so you can fear a target. If you have let's say you're about to pull a few mobs and one of them you don't want to fight at the same time, then you fear them, and then for 1 minute they're just gonna be running around like a crazy chicken. Then we also have Mortal Coil. It's basically an instant cast spell that deals it actually doesn't deal damage. I remember it dealing damage in old days. It doesn't deal any damage. It basically just makes them fear for 3 seconds, making them standing still and shaking for 3 seconds, but it also heals yourself for 20% of your maximum health, which is quite nice. Then we have Dark Pact. It sacrifices 20% of our health. We get a shield that is 200% of whatever we sacrificed. And also because of the talent we have here, it heals us for 130k every second, which is super nice. Then we have our Demonic Healthstone. We of course have the Demonic Healthstone, this one here. Yeah, so it's a stronger Healthstone that heals 35% of our health, and if we combine it together with Soul Burn, it's going to heal even more. So like, you know, a lot. Then we have Unending Resolve, very strong defensive cooldown, reducing all damage you take by 25%, and also you now you cannot be interrupted, silenced, or pushed back. Like, you know, your spells cannot be interrupted at all. Then I have added another of my pet spells. To do that, I had to go into like Spellbook Pet and take out this one here called Devour Magic. It's basically a spell you have to use whenever like whenever the mob gets out, like when it gets a magic buff, like those blue buffs. When it gets a blue buff that is good, then I can remove it with this one here. It's up to you if you want to do it, but it's very nice to do it. We also have a Mass Stun, Shadow Fury, so I can stun all of these at one time. We also have Curse of Satyr, basically making them attack slower and cast slower, and also Curse of Exhaustion, which makes them move slower. Then we have Demonic Gateway, where you can make a portal. If you combine it with Soul Burn, it basically makes it instantly. Very nice. We also have Demonic Circle, which is kind of like the monks, where you leave like a spirit behind, where you can teleport to it, because now I have this spell here called Demonic Circle Teleport. If I combine it with Soul Burn, I run faster when I get out of it, which is quite nice. It's just teleporting you back here. Then we have Soulstone. Remember, Soulstone is a very important spell. You can either pre-use it on someone, and if you pre-use it on someone, they're not gonna die. Like when they die, they can ask, do you want to release? Do you want to like use your Soulstone to come back where you are? It's kind of like your combat risk. But you can also save it and use it on someone who's dead. If someone dies, you can actually use it on them, which is quite nice. Allowing resurrecting, but yeah. So I can precast it now on someone, but I can also use it on someone who's dead already. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure you can also use it on someone who's already dead. I'm 99% sure you can use it on someone who's dead. Then we have Burning Rush. It's a spell that makes you run very fast, this one up here, but it also takes, like, it kills you all the time. You could, of course, combine it with Dark Pact, so now you have a shield that keeps, like, healing you, so you can see you lose 200k, you get 130k. I mean, that wouldn't even make sense to actually combine them. Forget what I said. But yeah, it's a spell that makes you run very fast, but it also kills you at the same time, so... yeah. Then we have Fell Domination. In case one of your pets die, you can use it and then summon your pet very, very fast. Like this. So, very nice. And also it makes them free. So it doesn't have, they don't cost like a soul shard. And then we of course have our summon pets. And we also have Health Funnel, which is healing our pet. Which can also be combined with Soul Burn. But now it has full health, so I can't use it. Well, it's that portal. So that's basically the rotation. That's all our spells. That's our entire rotation. Again, when we are aggroing, when we're doing, it's very important, start your opening. Whenever it casts this like shadow, like cooldown on you, and it's about to like begin to use soul shards, use your, whatever it's called, the Infernal. And now you are allowed to use like soul shards, because then every time you use soul shards, it has a chance to like summon additional Infernos. So yeah, 1 1 1 2 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. There we go. That's our rotation. So I hope this was helpful and informative. In case you want to learn, like in case you want to have my talents, so you can import them directly into your game, or the talents or the UI, you can go to my Discord where there's going to be a room for the Destruction Warlock. You have like a forum room in there where all the specs are, and then you can just pick the talents in there and import them directly into the game by this button here. Import here. And of course, if you switch to the raid talents, you're just going to have the Soulfire spell, which of course is automatically also going to be used in your rotation. So you don't have to worry about that one. It will also automatically be used inside your rotation. I'm not sure how often the single button rotation is actually going to use it. I have a feeling it's going to wait till we actually get that proc where it has a chance to make it like, you know, fast casted. We can test for a second here. Still nothing. There we go. Now it's going to use it. Boom. Ouch. So it basically is a single button rotation is basically waiting for you to get this proc here, where every time you have a direct damaging ability to deal critical strike, they have a chance to reset the cooldown of your Soulfire and make it 80% faster. So it was just basically waiting. So that's going to be the only difference by playing with the dungeon build or raid build, that sometimes it's going to use very fast Soulfires. That's it. And also it increases the damage of Shadowburn, which is like, it makes Shadowburn even better, which is very nice on single target mobs. Where in AoE, it keep using Rain of Fire and not really like Chaos Ball and stuff like that. So again, very single target oriented. Okay, now it's the last part of the video. It's time for the gameplay session where you're gonna watch me play a dungeon as a Destruction Warlock, just to show you in real time how it is. Alright, here we go. We get some dungeon gameplay. I'm actually a bit excited to try this because, you know, it's usually easier to play like a melee class because you can faster and easier, like, you know, start your rotation by just pressing 1. And, you know, like a Frost Death Knight is a good example of just like going in and starting a lot of like AoE spells. So I'm gonna start with using my Infernal, even though I know I said to you that Infernal is not the one we should be starting with. But since we are on the move and I had to like do something instant cast, I thought it was the best decision. So we got just pressing 1, and as you can see, it automatically uses Rain of Fire, which of course deals a lot of damage. It also used Channel Demolite, which also deals a lot of damage. This phase here in the start of the dungeon is always a bit wacky for casters because they keep like running with a lot of mobs, and it's just a very awkward like experience for like a caster, because they keep like running around and pulling more stuff and so on. So yeah, so don't worry if your DPS is not that great on this phase here. The Retribution Paladin, which of course is doing a lot of damage right now, has all the advantage he needs to deal more damage here. You can see we still give him a pretty rough fight. Like, you know, we have a Frost Death Knight who has no chance against us, but the Paladin, he has definitely like his advantage here. So I'm gonna start off with a Cataclysm. It's gonna channel the fire, and they already died, so pretty hard to do anything here. A lot of instant casts. Very nice. And let's just run over to the boss now. We're gonna use our Burning Rush, so we run even faster, but we also take a lot of damage. We could be nice and create a Soul Well. So and now we start our damage rotation. And just before it's about to use my soul shards, I'm summoning my Infernals so that it can have a chance to summon even more Infernals. That Paladin is slaying. But I didn't even have, like, you know, that was the issue. Like, you know, you could see I was just about to throw Chaos Balls, which even didn't get, yeah, it didn't even get into my damage on the damage meter. So I guess that's one of the things with Distro, that it's kind of like, it's a spec that needs to like ramp up. Like, we need to like ramp up, we need to use a few spells, we need to put down our Rain of Fire, we need to like throw out dots. It's a spec that likes to build up, if you know what I mean. And that boss died way too fast. Oops, I thought actually he was about to pull that. my my single button rotation actually screwed up there. I think it was supposed to like use rain on fire on the target, but it was trying to like target with my mouse. Perhaps it is better to take this one here where it just automatically uses it on the target instead of where I can positionate it. I just thought like, you know, it was able to handle it. Here we're gonna... really don't want to use my spells now because I know it's gonna be gonna throw a stun. Because I want to save my cooldowns for the boss. So I'm letting them do everything. Good. Then we're using Cataclysma. We're gonna use our Earth after that. Oh, Infernal. I know it was a bit earlier than usually, but we don't have much time to do damage on the boss since yeah, since the boss dies pretty fast. And again, I am just about to throw my Chaos Bolt and do the big damage, and he dies. But this time here, we were actually able to do more damage than the Paladin. But the thing is, the Paladin, he can get all... he can, like, literally... he can do his entire burst in 10 seconds, where I need a good 30 seconds before my burst is up and running. So, of course, when you do higher end content, where the mobs are dying, you know, slower, it's not a problem. This is another reason why I think it's a good idea to have, like, you know, like, keybind wither somewhere on your keyboard. Because when you're just running, it's fine to just, like, run and dot them all up. Ooh, we actually did a good amount of damage here. Damn. What did we do? Oh, that was my... okay, that was my cloak. You know, the cloak that everyone has. That was the one that popped. Now we don't have any cooldowns, and the Paladin is going to start attacking before me, so that's going to be interesting. I'm just going to stand at that. Okay, that was actually a bad decision, because that's literally stunned me for 2 seconds. Okay, we actually got allowed to cast a Chaos Bolt, another one. There you go. Look at that damage. That is when you actually get allowed to start your real rotation with Chaos Bolt. Of course, I was lucky also to having my cloak, because I don't think the Paladin actually has the cloak. So of course we need to take out that cloak in the calculation. But still, this should give you an idea of how it is to be a distro warlock in the dungeons. Sometimes it feels a bit like you need to build up stuff, but again, in higher content where mobs are like a longer time alive, it's not going to be an issue. And it just also in higher content, the tank doesn't like run through everything like this. Like, you know, this was of course a low dungeon, which is the only thing I can do because I got shit gear in this character. But yeah, still. So yeah, that was everything. The only thing is like maybe we need to change to this one here because it did bug out one time, but only one time out of like 20 times, so I guess it's not that bad. By the way, in the rotation video, I kind of forgot to talk about a few things. Up here in the right corner, we of course have Create Soulwell, which is a spell that basically creates a health stone for everyone. I think every warlock knows about it, but now at least you know. And you also have, of course, your normal health stone spell, which is only giving you a health stone. We also have Ritual Doom, which is it's just like a dumb spell. It basically sacrifices one of your party members, and then it summons like a demon. Then we have Unending Breath, so you can like breathe underwater. We have Subjective Demon, so basically you can like bind a demon to you for 10 minutes. And we also have Eye of Kilrock, which is basically like a spell you could use like a scout. So yeah, that's it. All right. Thanks for watching the video, everyone. I really appreciate you all for enjoying this series of all these single button builds. Keep in mind, if you want to build the build here and the UI automatically. It's going to be on my Discord. There's going to be a Destruction Warlock room in there where both the macros, the builds, UI, everything is going to be in there. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to like the video. That's always nice, since that kind of helps the algorithm. And if you want to have sneak peeks of new builds or behind the scenes footage, feel free to become a YouTube member, and you will also be listed in the credits of the video. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video, which is going to be a balanced druid.